Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the Cocoa Nomad, where I provide information and inspiration around remote work and travel and being a digital nomad if you choose. If you're just remote working in your home country, that's totally fine too. You're still in the right place. And in this video, what I wanted to talk about was a response to a video I made last week. And I talked about one of the changes I made to my workflow and how I'm switching to weekly sprints and the benefits that I expect to get from that. And so far, it's been really good. But I posted it on LinkedIn and someone responded and had a great question. And so I'm going to read the question and then we'll get into what I said. Working in teams, how do you help reduce meeting fatigue when switching to weekly sprints? This is the primary reason I've kept it to 2 weeks. Also, with a higher frequency of meetings, reviews, retros, etc., I feel it leaves less time in the week for actual task work. And I think it's a great question. I think one of the things that if you start to create your more personal work, more personal, like if you create these weekly sprints, there is additional work, right? Because you're doing twice as many of these reviews and retros. And for me, I think that's completely valid. I operate under an underlying principle, though. Like if I'm splitting that in half, I think those meetings should be shorter. We shouldn't have a cumulative like increase in the amount of meetings. Now, I understand that there is sort of like a bare minimum of time that you're going to have just to start something up, right? Like it just to get into the starting the meeting or doing your personal meeting or personal review, there's a little bit of personal ramp up time, right? Whether it's time to open up the computer and getting fired up or walk to the room that you're going to do it, open the notebook, all of these things. So yes, I understand there is a base cost, but you should be reaping the benefits by separating it in half. And those meetings shouldn't be as long. Like if you're doing a weekly review, like I used to do a bi-weekly and I had set for instance, 2 hours to do everything. So now my weekly one should only be an hour. I shouldn't be spending that much time. Now, full disclosure, my weekly review, I'm doing the weekly retro for the things that I share on what I'm working on, but I also could combine that with the planning. So my weekly review and planning is all together. So like I just dovetail into it. So that's why it's an hour, and that's why it would typically take 2 hours. And even in part of that, there's a financial review. I go through my numbers. I literally have spreadsheets with the 3 basic financial statements. I go through all of that stuff. So that was what was, I allocated the 2 hours for. It doesn't always take 2 hours, but that's what I allocated. So now I'm splitting it as like 1 hour. And I believe last week I was done in 45 minutes. So even then, the frequency of me doing the meeting helps me keep context from week to week, but it also helps me to flow faster. Like it's a lot easier to manage my swim lanes when I'm putting everything into what I'm working on the following week. It's easier because I don't have as many tasks. I'm not trying to jam, like I don't have 40 things I'm trying to get done. I have the 20 things that I can get done in this 1 week. So even that moves faster. In addition, I really think that if you have any meeting, now this is what to answer the question in terms of like working on a team with other people, any meeting that takes more than 30 minutes just really makes me think something's like, there's something that can be done, right? I think that it's like we spend a lot of time in these meetings, and it's like once it's allocated on the calendar, we don't necessarily value the time of all the people who have to show up. So it's like just invite them, just bring it. It's just like free money. It's just like no, you can't really do that. Just like making it rain with people's time. It's like cut that down. Respect the calendar, yours and everyone else's in the organization, because it costs to have everybody in the room. And I learned this lesson once when I switched from being a full-time employee to a consultant at the same company, because I went from someone who's had an abundance amount of time because I was a fixed cost. I was a salaried employee. And it's like, fine. It's like, bring Alana to all the meetings. Like, yeah, we really want to hear you in here. And then when I went to change to a consultant, and every hour cost them money, and it was like tangible, it became like, I don't know if we need you in this meeting. We'll take some notes and give you an overview. And that's where I'm going to. One of the practices is leverage the asynchronous communication tools that we have already. We have Slack rooms, we have emails, we have the ability to communicate about a lot of this stuff without physically being in this meeting and taking everybody's time at that time, because that might not be the time that's best used but for that particular person on the team. And so you want to be mindful of that. So as an organization, if you can really shrink these meetings down, we used to do daily stand-ups when I did work. I'm dating myself now. It's like 2010, 2012, something like that. And it's a quick meeting. You're standing up physically, and you can you can tell, like, people start to get fidgety and annoyed. Like, it's like, all right, let's go. What did you do? What did you do? What are you doing today? Do you have any blockers? And the blockers conversation is one of those things where you're touching base. That conversation doesn't need to take place in the stand-up. That conversation can take place, again, asynchronously, or if it has to be at the same time, with just those individuals. Take that, remove it, let's keep going. So this is the thing, it's like you really do have to be vigilant about maintaining and respecting the boundaries of the calendar and the time that you've allocated. And the constraint of less time really helps you do that. I did a podcast episode that I'll link to about the value of constraints. And I think I'll probably just make a video because, again, I'm acknowledging that some people prefer just to see video versus listening in a podcast or some other kind of format. But if you want to catch it now, I'll put the link in for the Making Constraints Work For You episode of the podcast, and you can get some of those nuggets already without having to wait for the video. And then finally, if you try this and it doesn't work, and I think this is the big takeaway, try it. I'm not saying that any of the suggestions, any of the tools, any of the techniques that I provide on this channel are a silver bullet for anyone, okay? This may not work for you. It's like, I'm telling myself. As a little kid, people used to say I look like Gary Coleman from the show Different Strokes, right? And so that theme song is stuck in my head, and so is that stupid catchphrase because people used to ask me to say it all the time, and I'm not going to say it. But the deal is, it's different strokes. What might be right for you may not be right for some. Take an opportunity to try for yourself and see if it works. If weekly sprints, you give it a shot, give it an honest shot. Try it for 2 to 3, 4 weeks. And if you find that it's not working, because you got to give yourself time to adjust, right? You want to be fair. It's like you have to get acclimated to it. And if it doesn't work after that much time and it's still suboptimal, try something else. Go back to your longer sprints, or maybe there's something else that you can do to sort of tweak it. But at least give it a try and see if it works. So let me know in the comments if this is something that is working for you. If you have additional questions like the question that I received, I would love to hear it. I love talking about this stuff. I really wish I could have everybody in the room, but I am thankful that we have tools like the internet and video so that I can do this now. So comment, like, subscribe. Any questions you have, any things you want me to address and talk about, I am more than happy to do that. Have an amazing day, and I will talk to you later. Cheers.